I would like to call this meeting to order at 5:01. Will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let it be noted that all directors are present. We'll move on to approval of the agenda. Mr. Bartz, are there any changes to the agenda?
No changes to the agenda.
I'll move the agenda.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hearing none opposed, motion passes. Ms. Sevier, are there any members of the public here for public comment?
Mr. Barnes?
Mr. Barnes.
Is the mic on? Yes. Thank you. I have a statement I wish to read. I want to state before I read it that this is not relevant to the issue of the General Counsel's contract. I support rewarding loyalty and hard work. Some of you may remember I attempted to remotely attend the special board meeting yesterday, the 26th. There seemed to be some confusion about why a constituent would be interested in attending the open portions of a meeting with one closed session agenda item. I was not allowed to rejoin the meeting for the second open session where the board announced reportable items. Mr. Fish has kindly explained my inability to rejoin the meeting was his oversight. But the incident does seem to show me that perhaps your constituents are not a major focus of your thoughts. I mean, we did change the meeting of the time of this meeting to a time that is very inconvenient for constituents of this area. I attempted to attend the meeting because I was trying to understand why the board needed to hold a separate special meeting for the evaluation of the general manager. My view, and as I understand it, largely the view of the board, and I suspect the community as well, is that Mr. Bartz is an excellent general manager. Our community is beyond lucky to have him, and therefore, barring a crisis situation, any performance evaluation is largely a formality. So why did we, your constituents, pay you $480 for this special meeting as opposed to having it at the end of any other regular board meeting? It seems to me the board of directors are not inclined to treat our tax money with care. A few weeks ago, a director was spouting off on Facebook about the communists and socialists in Sacramento who are out to get us. This time I think about cars. Obviously, everyone's entitled to their opinion. That said, I would certainly prefer that the members of our local governing body keep their focus on effectively governing the local community. My understanding is that most, if not all of you, claim to be politically conservative. As your constituent, I would therefore ask you to consider to start making an effort to be fiscally conservative as well. My understanding is that the board exists to provide oversight to staff, not to simply rubber stamp their proposals. And personally, I'm much more interested in how what you do impacts my bank account than whether you're a fan of the red team or the blue team. Speaking of socialism, I still do not understand why your constituents paid $480 for you to socialize with staff yesterday. And the only communism I've seen since moving to this area was when this board tried to pass a universal garbage tax 2 years ago. Only Director Phillips voted against this commie garbage tax, if I remember correctly. And it took the socialists in Sacramento coming down to save us from your commie tax. So once again, please stop socializing my money into your pockets. Start making an effort to be fiscally conservative. How about governance that makes a positive difference in people's wallets? Every little bit counts. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments? Okay. Move on to community reports. Looks like the fire station or fire department is here.
All right, good evening. Two things. First, I want to introduce myself, Eric Spies, newly promoted battalion chief, San Diego County Fire Department. So being back here is kind of special to me. I grew up in this community, fire explorers, went to all the local schools. So it is kind of special to me to be promoted and back in the community I grew up in. So yeah, as an introduction on me, before this I came from the Valley of San Bernardino County. So I wanted to give a brief update, kind of local stats, a little update on the bridge fire, answer any questions or concerns you guys may have. So a little update on the bridge fire. I'm sure most of you are social media and in tune with that. Last update was 54,878 acres. We're sitting at 91% containment, 81 structures destroyed. We did have numerous equipment from San Bernardino County assigned to the incident. A lot of that's been brought back, but in total, with both fires, we had 76 fire engines assigned, 2 hand crews, 3 dozers, 3 water tenders, 2 medic ambulance, 41 overhead staff positions, 2 mechanics, and 7 damage assessment specialists. So that's an update on the fire. Local calls over the past month for Station 10 out of Phelan. They ran a total of 196 calls. Like I said, that's over the last 30 days. 36 of those incidents were fire related. So just in brief, a couple things that I believe made us very successful with our cooperators on the recent fire and at the speed it impacted our communities was the community involvement and participation in a lot of our programs, our Ready, Set, Go, quick evacuation. There was no panicking, it was very timely. Preparation of residents and structures, all that made our job a lot easier to get in quickly and protect the communities. So we do want to thank the community for that. Just a few reminders for the public, things they can sign up for to help them with notifications and preparation. On our website, sbcfire.org, kind of outlines all the programs that we have for alerting. To name just a couple of them is the TENS program, telephone emergency notification system, where you can sign up and you get notifications for all our emergency alerts, evacuations, warnings sent to your phone. We also have an app, SB Ready app, and that kind of has tools for emergency plan, ideas, and strategies you can mitigate. Also with alerts and information. And then we have our residential assessment program, which is voluntarily program, but it'll help us come out and help you assess the hazards and mitigate those on your structure. So in the event these fires do occur, we're in a better position to defend your structure and life. I did leave some handouts over there that kind of describe these programs, so you guys are free to utilize those. So that's kind of the summary. Any questions I can answer?
I just want to say thank you for everything you did. You guys were awesome during that fire. I mean,
Thank you.
it was crazy how many structures you saved and the structures you did save that looked like they were going to go.
Yeah, I also brought our local engine crew with me. All these guys were assigned to these fires as well. Big part in, they started up in Wrightwood off Cardinal, Lark. They made their way down Desert Front, top of Green Road. I think 36 to 48 hours straight work that they put in. So yeah, we appreciate the support and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else have questions?
Oh, I was just going to say, welcome back to the community. Congratulations on your promotion. And again, just thank you guys so much for everything that you do. All of the people that were out there. I don't think it could have been handled any better. You know, the evacuations, the orders, staying on top of it, everything I think was flawless. So we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to add, we'd love to have you come to our meetings once a month to give us an update on how you guys are doing.
Yes, ma'am.
That'd be awesome.
I've been back just over 2 months, and unfortunately, the last few times I tried, I got sucked away to incidents that have been happening, but that is the intent.
Thank you.
Then it looks like we have Sam Shoup on the line from the supervisor's office.
Good evening, everybody. Hope you can all hear me well. First off, I just want to say thank you to our county fire folk. I'm glad to see that you guys are there today. I was going to provide a bit of an update on there, but I'm glad that y'all were there to do it much better than I ever could. And just to say again, thank you to all of our firefighters, first responders. We had a chance, me and some other staff members, to head up to Wrightwood last week, meet with a few of you, and really see firsthand the how close it really did come to so many of those homes. A coworker of ours lives up there in Wrightwood, so we're very thankful for that and appreciative, and really for the whole county response and coordinated response with our state agencies and others as well. I was speaking with Mr. Bartz frequently throughout as well, so I was glad to be able to have that communication with the CSD to make sure we were all working together and keeping everybody as safe as we could. I don't have too much of an update for everybody today. I really just wanted to pop in, mention a few of those things and see if anybody has any questions for our office that I'd be happy to answer. I do know the board had requested some information on some stoplights, I believe on Duncan and Clovis. I do not have that update for you yet. I will be following up with our Public Works team and provide that over to the CSD as soon as I'm able to do so. But with that, I'd be happy to take any questions from anybody.
Any questions?
I do. I'm happy to say that the stop sign at Duncan, Monte Vista, Bear Valley, on the other end of our district, has been put in. It's a nice big flashing stop sign. I'm pretty sure it's already saved a couple of lives. So I don't know if you were part of making that happen faster, but it's been in for a couple weeks now. So thank you.
I will fully take credit for it. Thank you very much. I'm glad to hear that that's put in there. That's great to hear.
And I like the fact they put the flashing lights around it make a big difference. You can notice it from a good distance away.
Oh, especially around a new one. That's super helpful. I'm glad to hear that.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Sam, question, you know the app that we have that the community can use to report the potholes and the things like that? I've had quite a few people reach out about them making a complaint about the intersection at Sheep Creek and Phelan Road. And I know that that is going to be part of this new rehabilitation that we're having, but it definitely can't wait for that. And so if we could speed that up a little bit, that would be amazing.
Or you say people have already reported it through SeeClickFix?
They have, and when you report something, then, because I reported it again as well, people can comment on your report, and so we had a thread going, a conversation. Oh, I've reported that multiple times and it's still not fixed, so.
That's Sheep Creek and Phelan?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you for letting me know. I'll making a note right now. I'll follow up with our Public Works team, see if we can get that. And it's just potholes, or?
It's a series of giant potholes in the middle of the intersection. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I'll make sure we follow up on that.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Shute? No. All right, thank you, Sam.
Thank you so much, everybody.
I see nobody else online, or do we have, that's it? Okay. We'll move on to consent items. Does anybody have any consent items they would like to pull? And if not, is there a motion to approve the consent items?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent items.
Second?
I'll second them.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hearing none opposed, motion passes. There were no matters removed from the consent. Presentations and appointments, no presentations and appointments. Continued new agenda items, Mr. Bartz, discussion and possible action regarding the general counsel's contract.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. This is an item that Director Snyder had requested to be put on the agenda, and I'd like to turn it over to Director Snyder. Yeah, thank you. I was provided with a copy of the council's contract. At this point, I don't have any future comments, or I'll bring them up in the future if I do. I haven't had time to sit down and review and see if I have any questions regarding that contract. Thank you.
If I may, Mr. President, I'd like to make a couple comments, if that's okay.
Sure, absolutely.
First of all, with respect to the point that was made during public comment, I would like to state that the request for the special meeting was mine. It was not from the board, so that was, if there's any criticism of that should be directed at me. The reason for that is when the board scheduled its second meeting of the month on the fourth Wednesday of the month. That conflicts with the board meeting that I have at 6 o'clock. And that is where I'm at right now, is another public agency in Whittier. And so I will have to leave the meeting at 6. And so hopefully there's been savings as a result of that, that would make up for the director's fees, as well as the fact that the rates that you see that I've charged over the last 16 years that I've served the district, the first 15 years of which are at $125 an hour, and the last year has been at $150 an hour. I want to point out that those rates are below the special counsel rates for the Mojave Adjudication Special Counsel that has been retained. Not only the council, but also it's lower than the rate being charged by the law clerk for that firm. And I've kept that rate low on purpose because of the opportunity that I've had to continue to serve this district since the beginning of its creation. That has meant a lot to me personally. Working with your staff and with this board has been an important part of what I feel is this district has done for the community. And so I have kept my rates intentionally low for 15 years without raising it for that reason. And I'm grateful for the opportunity that I've been given to serve the district. So hopefully the fact that I requested a special meeting that may have cost $480, that is made up by the fact that I've kept my rates artificially low for 15 years and going on 16 years now. So if there's any criticism that should be given over that special meeting, that should be directed at me and not to the board. Otherwise, I'd be glad to answer any questions that the board may have regarding that proposal. You'll note that it is a proposal. It was submitted in February of 2008, and it was directed to former Director Johnson. There is no particular contract that is in place. The board retains the ability to terminate my services at any time that you wish, without having to make any determinations or findings or cause or anything. So if the board ever wishes to do that, that's completely within your discretion moving forward. Other than that, I don't have anything more to report.
Are there any questions for Mr. Kennedy? Nope. Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. Oh, there's Mark.
Yes, Mr. Kennedy, your hourly rate is actually lower than a certain geologist that I know. So thank you for keeping it low.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity. I have really enjoyed my service for the district, so thank you.
Thank you.
I believe Peter Barnes had wanted to make a comment.
Go ahead, Mr. Barnes.
I just want to say that I do appreciate what Mr. Kennedy had to say. Nonetheless, I think that the board is responsible for the decisions. To me, it's an indication of poor planning that the meeting wasn't scheduled better. And on top of that, this is just one of many issues that I have personally been thinking about over the past year. So this is sort of coming to a head as opposed to just one issue that I'm upset about. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item B, which is discussion and possible adoption of resolution number 2024-14, establishing a conflict of interest code. Mr. Bartz.
Yes, Ms. Sevi prepared this item, and I'll let her present this.
So this is every 2 years we need to renew our conflict of interest code and submit it to the County Board of Supervisors. This is something that we did fairly recently. The only change that we have in this iteration would be, we did add our assistant water operations manager, because he was the only exempt staff member that wasn't included, and I think that was just an oversight from the previous adoption. And that's on Exhibit B. Other than that, I didn't have any substantial material changes. Mr. Kennedy, did you have anything?
No, that was the only change would be to accommodate the gift limitation of $590. That was part of the FPPC change that occurred a couple of years ago. No other change is necessary.
Okay. Are there any questions for Ms. Sevi or Mr. Kennedy? No? Do we have a motion to approve the item?
I motion to approve Resolution 2024-14.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Sounds good. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hearing none opposed, that motion passes. Item C, discussion of possible action regarding ordinance number 2024-02, establishing guidelines for the conduct of the district's public meeting and activities. Mr. Bartels.
Yes, same for this item as the last item. I'll turn this over to Ms. Sevi.
Okay, so the board did review this ordinance in January of this year. There were some changes. I don't believe that there were any material changes at that time. However, Director Snyder has requested that we review this, and it's actually good timing for it because there have been some changes that legal counsel has prepared a memo for, which is included in this packet, and I will turn it over to Mr. Kennedy to explain those. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sevi. Yes, it is good timing. A couple of major developments have occurred over the last several months since the board has reviewed the Sunshine Ordinance. The first of which is an Attorney General opinion that came down on July 24th, which provided interpretation to the just cause requirement for remote attendance by board members under AB 2449. And so a little bit of background. AB 2449 was a bill that was enacted a couple of years ago that allows for board members to attend meetings without having to go through traditional Brown Act requirements for remote attendance. Typically, before AB 24, really before the pandemic, what board members would have to do would, they could attend remotely as long as the meeting location was identified on the agenda. That agenda was posted at the remote meeting location, and the remote meeting location was open to the public, and the public could participate from that location. That was how remote participation by board members was done for a number of years. The pandemic hit, and the governor issued an executive order that relaxed those provisions while we were going through the social distancing requirements of the pandemic. Arising out of that were a number of pieces of legislation. The primary one was AB 2449, which allows for board members to attend meetings remotely without having to go through the traditional Brown Act requirements that we mentioned: notice, public participation, posting, all of that, if it meets one of two prongs. One is just cause, and the other is emergency circumstance. Within just cause, there's 4 different prongs, and probably the primary one is disability. However, there are limitations for the number of times that you could use just cause under AB 2449. And that for boards that meet twice a month, then the number of times that you would be able to use just cause is 2 times per year. The combination of just cause and emergency circumstance is 4 times a year. This decision from the Attorney General essentially said that if the disability prong of just cause is one that is protected by the Americans with Disabilities Act. So if it's a disability covered by ADA, then the obligation to allow directors to attend remotely would be one that arises out of a reasonable accommodation requirement for disabilities under the ADA, and not one that would be limited by the numerical restrictions of AB 2449. So it's a very important decision. One, because it takes away the numerical limitations for just cause, if the just cause is based on disability. Secondly, with AB 2449 set to expire on January 1st of 2026, this may signal that AB 2449 may exist beyond the current sunset date. I have some knowledge about the potential viability of 2449 beyond the sunset date. This is a piece of legislation that I wrote that was that I drafted on behalf of one of my other clients. That was and it was a 2-year bill that really did take quite a bit of time to get through the legislative process. I think, as I've indicated before, initially it was opposed by both the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association as well as a number of lobbying groups that would not normally group together to oppose something. So engaging in all of these groups in order to get consensus so that it was able to get through the legislature was a very difficult task. But it got through, but with all of these guardrails in place, because there wasn't a lot of trust that public agencies would be able to do the right thing as it relates to just cause and emergency circumstance. So that's why there were these guardrails. That's why there's the sunset clause. So this opinion may reflect the hopefully continued viability of AB 2449 beyond the current sunset date. Process has already begun with ACWA and CSDA on behalf of my client that I work for, that we drafted this. Assemblymember Rubio, that was the sponsor of it, and hopefully this is something that will continue to exist beyond the sunset date. Also, as part of that, the developments that have occurred over the last several months is Assembly Bill 2302. That is mentioned in my memo as well. Part of what we had to do for the guardrails that we talked about on the numerical limitations for remote attendance was a percentage, 20% of the number of meetings that the board has, regular meetings that the board has per year. That percentage is a little clunky. So what AB 2302 would do would be to to hardwire a specific number for boards based upon the number of regular meetings per year. And for districts such as Phelan Piñon Hills, that would be 5 meetings per year because you meet twice a month. As of right now, that bill is on the governor's desk. It passed out of the Assembly by a 63-0 vote, and it passed out of the Senate by a 40-0 vote. I would imagine that the governor will sign it, but as of right now, it has not been signed. So what you have in your materials is the memo that I've prepared that goes through the developments during this legislative session and the Attorney General's opinion. I've also prepared a worksheet, a director remote participation worksheet that would assist directors in what the requirements are under Classic Brown Act as well as AB 2449 in light of the Attorney General opinion and potentially AB 2302. The Attorney General opinion is also attached. And then what is also included is your sunshine ordinance. So Exhibit B to the district's sunshine ordinance is your board member teleconference policy. And so based upon the opinion from the Attorney General's office and potentially AB 2302, I have proposed various changes to the board member teleconferencing policy, and it's actually Exhibit A. And that is included beginning on page 133 of your agenda materials. And so the red lines there are the red lines that I've prepared and recommend that the board adopt as part of your board member teleconferencing policy under your Sunshine Act ordinance. Now, your Sunshine ordinance does more than just deal with board member teleconferencing. It also outlines when your regular meeting schedule is. It also reflects the board's commitment to complying with the Brown Act. And as everyone knows that's gone through your ethics training, the requirements of the law are only the floor. What the Sunshine Ordinance does is not only reflect compliance with Brown Act, but also a higher standard of transparency that the board has always, from its inception, sought to reinforce with its community, with its constituents, and with everyone that it serves in connection with your obligations under your enabling legislation. So the Sunshine Ordinance is intended to reflect that commitment to transparency, as well as set forth your regular meeting schedule, how special meetings are scheduled, how committees are established, and in general, how the board will comply with its Brown Act obligations. So I'll be glad to answer any questions that the board may have regarding the Sunshine Ordinance. It was one of the very first documents that was adopted by the very first board, and it was really a more or less a beacon of transparency that was part of what the initial board and all of the subsequent boards have wanted to reinforce with its community to make sure that there's public trust and confidence in the manner in which the board conducts its business. As you know, when it comes to public service, the ends are not the entirety of the decision-making process, but the manner in which you get to there is also important for the community and understanding how the board operates. And this Sunshine Ordinance is intended to reflect that commitment. So again, be glad to answer any questions that the board may have.
Do any directors have questions for Mr. Kennedy? Mark?
Yeah, I noticed that there's some red lines for the descriptions of the standing and ad hoc committees. Those are based, they didn't appear to be much different, but our own ordinance meets any changes that might have been enacted. I don't know. There's no issue there.
No, this is really, I would say, some cleanup that probably should have been part of the original ordinance as to what qualifies as an ad hoc committee and what qualifies as a standing committee. And so the 6 items that are part of the what makes a committee formed by the board ad hoc versus standing, those 6 items are really pre-established Brown Act conditions, not necessarily statutory in nature, but part of the judicial law that has developed in interpreting the Brown Act over the years. And as the board is aware, establishing policies is more than just creating something out of whole cloth. The policies are based first upon what the statutory requirements are, then based upon what the judicial requirements are, then based upon any administrative guidance, such as the Attorney General's opinion. And then after all of that, that's where the board policy then can come in and fill in some of the blanks. And so what you have here for the definition of ad hoc committee is nothing that I have created that out of thin air. It is based upon the factors that have been developed by the courts over the years to differentiate between ad hoc committees and standing committees, and why an ad hoc committee does not have to comply with the notice and public participation requirements of the Brown Act, whereas a standing committee does.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Kennedy? No. Hearing none, I'll make a motion to move ordinance number 2024-02. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hearing none opposed, motion passes. Update on solid waste rates, Mr. Bartz.
Ms. Sevy will do this. She has the information on this.
Just a second while I share my screen. I don't think it's showing the right thing. There it is. Okay. This is a pretty brief update. So as the Solid Waste Committee is aware, we've been data gathering all year with basically how long it's taking CR&R to pick up customer trash, and how long it's taking to dispose of it, and how much it's costing to dispose of it. And so that information is going to be used with our consultant that we have contracted with to perform a solid waste kind of rate analysis. It's not really a study because we don't operate an enterprise, and so it doesn't quite work the same as water. But basically, we're holding our franchise hauler accountable for the rates that they set in our community. And this was what was agreed upon between the district and CR&R when we went through our last rate analysis. So before we get into that, which we expect to kick off in November and December with reporting back to the board in January or February, I just want to kind of show you where we're at right now and kind of how we compare to other agencies, and just reiterate some of the factors that could go into our rates. So these are our current rates, $32.31 a month for 3-cart service. Of course, that's billed quarterly. $126.41 for 2 cubic yard bin. It also comes with 2 barrels. And then if you need an extra barrel, it's $7.31. So this kind of shows some common service types. You can get extra carts. So if you have extra recycling, because you order a lot of Amazon like I do, you can get as many recycling containers as you need. And I have really great news. So I don't know what it is, but CRNR has been very gracious in their rates with our community, and I do want to take some credit for that because that was kind of a hard-fought negotiation battle with them. So we're the lowest in the region, even less than Hellendale, and that's a pretty small community with small lot sizes. It's a little bit easier to do service out there. And then if you look at our price per gallon, because each agency has different size barrels, so they're bigger, smaller, but if you add it all up and do some multiplication, you come out, or division, I should say, we show we're about 17 cents a gallon with our basic 3-cart service for trash collection, and we're the lowest. So our bins, that's our 2-yard bin, if we compare, we're right in the middle. There's a couple reasons for that. Not all of these agencies include an organics and recycling cart with it. So you're actually getting more bang for your buck. So you're getting, 120 extra gallons of disposal in addition to your 2 cubic yard bin. And then this is going to factor into kind of the next part of this is, so back when I took over really managing solid waste, when things got really regulatory intense, we had about 3,600 customers. And so we knew that, Director Roberts was on my committee at the time, that all of these things from the state were coming down in regard to recycling and with particularly organics. And so they kind of were very supportive and let's proactively get people signed up for this service so when everybody is required to have it, it's a little bit less painful. And so as of the end of August, we had 5,792 customers. So that's a significant increase in customers for our community, and it really did help with the rollout because a lot of people were already signed up for some sort of service. So again, our future cost of service really is dependent on the number of subscribers. So the more subscribers we have, of course, the more people that we can spread these total costs over, because there's costs for trucks, staff, there's a lot involved in actually collecting trash. And CRNR is already driving down pretty much every road in our community, and so if they're not skipping as many houses, it's better for them, right? And I think it's great that we're getting close to that 6,000 household mark, so we're at 70%. One of the biggest factors, and the fire has kind of delayed some of my meetings with Public Works. They've been really busy with the fires. Is where can our solid waste go? So we always thought that we could continue to take residential solid waste to the transfer station, and there has been some county chatter that no, we can't do that anymore. And we're kind of going back and forth on, well, we're paying this tax, our residents are, for the disposal component of our rates, so why can't our trash be sent to the dump, right? And so they haven't been able to give me a really good explanation about that yet, and they are going to have to give me one before we get into this, because if we do end up having to pay a disposal component on residential rates, we already pay it for commercial, that is going to have implications on our rates, because that's not currently a factor of residential solid waste rates. And then also, what do we want to do about the dump fee if they maintain that? Basically it's useless for 70% of our customers, right? So that's kind of our big one remaining outstanding factor. Brandon with CRNR is doing an excellent job. He's been reaching out to all of the different other disposal options and coming up with some preliminary rates of what it would be should we take our residential solid waste there. He's also doing some piloting just to see, it's different everywhere you go, how they want the waste dropped off. I don't understand the minutia of it because I'm not a solid waste operations manager, but so he's been taking a few of our loads here and there just to see how they process the waste. And so I am working on setting up a tour of a couple of the MRFs here now that it's cooler. Hopefully it's less stinky at them. And so if the board is interested in that, just shoot me an email. I'll make sure to include you on the date setting for that. And then, of course, our economic conditions. So if we can continue on with inflationary pressures. We all know how that impacted the water side of the district. It impacts the trash side the same with CR&R. You know, minimum wage goes up, cost of fuel goes up, everything goes up. Basically anything that costs money is going to be transferred on to, unfortunately, our customers. There's just no way around it. And then, you know, continued good news, our self-hauler fee, I believe, can still continue to remain zero because I get this great report from the county every month that shows who went to the transfer station and how much they dropped off. And like I said, other than maybe a couple hundred people, all of our trash service is accounted for. And if you take into account our vacancy rate, like I am very confident in stating that pretty much all of our customers have a viable disposal option for their solid waste that complies with all of the state and county laws. So very happy with that. So I really do feel like with our current rates being the lowest in the region, that we are in a great spot to start this process. And hopefully I come back with some good news around the first of the year. And of course, the committee is going to continue to be updated as we go through this rate process. So that's all I have. I don't know if you have any questions. I can answer them maybe.
Any questions?
Just a comment, this has been quite the wild path we've been on to get to here. And to see it at this point is really awesome. The fruit is coming to harvest, basically.
Yeah, and Brandon was going to be here tonight, but he had a little bit of an emergency, so he couldn't be here. He's fine. He, you know, has been relaying to us that our customer service issues have gone down and the delinquencies have also gone down. So this is all really good news.
Thank you. We'll move on to item E, update on district projects. Mr. Bartz.
Turn this over to George.
Thank you, Mr. Bartz. I just want to go through the final steps on the FEMA funding portion of this project. On the Civic Center, kind of see where my notes are at. We're in our final steps in complying with FEMA on the EOS or EOC portion of our project. The public comments are due on the 14th of October, and those comments will be headed over to FEMA's facilitator. With that being said, the updated plans, which were required for notice, have been submitted to the county for plan check on the revisions. We're still waiting for comments back. Part of the submittal to that was also the park enhancement. So they both went in at the same time. They kind of both play hand to hand as far as the design. We are going to be working with, again, re-engage with Edison on the relocation of the overhead on former Sahara Road, which kind of plays into the enhancement project. That is the pickleball court, the community garden, and the ADA enhancements to Phelan Park. Joshua Trees, I know we talked about this at the last meeting. We did meet with the biologist that's taken the lead on our project. Kind of was surprised to hear that we had 1,900 trees to mitigate. Thought this was going to be a great project for he and his staff to come up and visit. The visit was supposed to be the week during the bridge fire. Of course, there was the mandatory evacuations. That visit never happened. We have not re-engaged the meeting with the biologist to see when that's going to happen. They kind of received more information from RCA, who prepared the study. We are still kind of waiting for the revised WQMP for the park project that's tied with the Civic Center project. So there's some revision to that we're working on, as well as the electrical engineering on finalizing the EV stations. We're at the tail end of this. We did send over the proposal for bids, the draft over to legal counsel for review just today. So if Mr. Kennedy is listening, It's in your mailbox. So we're anxiously looking to get that in. That kind of ties into the RFP for the enhancement project as well. So things are, mangled here with projects with the 14-acre and the Phelan Park enhancement. If you have any questions on, no further questions, or no questions on the Civic Center, I can jump onto the parks.
Did we end up with a balanced site once we raised the pad? And
Yes,
We
it
did,
was,
okay.
it was challenging. We haven't really played into we went into the preliminary grading plan for the park to kind of work with the additional earth that was needed for the Civic Center to raise that pad 2 feet. Right now, we're balanced, but we anticipate to have import to kind of play into the design. So we'll be rolling into the design portion, the 65% design on the Phelan Park here real soon. We really had to complete the WQMP and the drainage study before we got into the park design, completing the Civic Center. So it's a lot of dirt. If you look at how much that is going to look like in what we had originally, it may be 6 inches deeper on one of the ball fields. That would be more on the south side. So we may be able to work with that. Our engineers use the model to kind of run the earth calculations, and it's been a struggle, especially when you come back with changes to the design and the WQMP as well. Like I just mentioned, the Phelan Park enhancement, we did submit that to county. We did receive our first plan check comments. They're pretty extensive. A lot of them are just the normal questions as far as deeds and things like that. They haven't really gotten into the design portion of it. So we do have it. The RFP, or the proposal for bids that were sent over to legal counsel for review, is going to play as part of this project as well. We need to move forward with this project a lot quicker because of the funding requirements for that. And for the Phelan Park expansion, I had mentioned there's nothing more to report other than we're on a semi-hold because of the changes to the WQMP, which is the Water Quality Management Plan and the drainage study for the Civic Center. And that's all I got. So any questions? We're here to help.
no questions? Nope. Okay. We'll move on to
Thank you.
committee reports and comments. Engineering Committee.
The minutes of the August Engineering Committee meeting are in the packet. The committee did not meet in September, so the next meeting will be in the third Wednesday of October.
Finance Committee.
Actually, it won't, because I won't be here.
Oh, you won't be here. So
So we'll either have to reschedule or.
either reschedule or we'll figure that
So
out.
TBD.
Thank you, TBD, yes, to be determined. Finance Committee next meets in October.
The Legislative Committee.
Legislative committee hasn't met.
Do you meet December?
We'll meet in December, yeah.
Parks, Recreation, and Street Lighting.
We met in August. The meeting minutes are in there, but we haven't met since the last time we updated you.
Thank you. Waste and Recycling Committee.
We met last week and went over basically what the information was given today and details of it, more into the numbers a little bit more. But we're moving along nicely. We're tackling all those boxes and getting them checked. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to item 8, Staff and General Managers Report. Are there any staff reports beyond what's in the agenda materials?
Yeah, I would just like to report that staff did amazing and the system held up fine during the fires this year, even during the heat of the summer. With the new well online, staff was able to keep the tanks full for firefighting in the upper zones. And I think the system did really well, and I'd just like to thank staff for their hard work.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you guys too. Awesome job out there. And then we will move on to Director's Reports. Director Kuyava?
Nothing to report.
No. Director Snyder?
I have nothing to report, except for I had a constituent reach out and give kudos to the staff. They were looking to develop some property, and staff was able to provide them with ample information in a timely fashion to make a decision on purchasing property. So thank you to staff that deals with that. It's greatly appreciated.
Director Roberts?
I attended the CSDA conference in Palm Springs, and I arrived on Monday and attended the opening ceremony in a class. I will put the information for the next packet. However, a fire started, so evacuation notices were put out, so I had to leave Tuesday evening.
Director Phillips?
I attended the CSDA conference. Thankfully, my house was never in an evacuation area, so I did not leave early and attended quite a few of the lessons and try to stay as focused as I can as I was worrying about all you guys back here. I'm very thankful that I wasn't evacuated. So, thank you.
Thank you. And then I have nothing to report, so we'll move on to correspondence and information. Ms. Sevi, will you please review the correspondence?
Yes, there are a lot of items in the packet. I think I'll just highlight a couple here. So the county was considering canceling the HHW event that is happening on September 28th. But good news, it's still on because there's actually a pretty great need, especially for Wrightwood, to be able to dispose of some of these items. And so they are going to continue to have that event. And that is in Wrightwood this year. Next year it'll be out here in Phelan. And then we did reschedule the community cleanup. So that was last weekend. And then the newest and most exciting thing, I think, is we have a super sorter program. Jen did an awesome job making this flyer. And we went over this at the committee. So in October, if you think that you are really good at sorting your trash, you can sign up through our website to have your trash inspected. And if you meet all of the requirements, you'll be put into a drawing. And each week in November, we will choose a winner for a CR&R sponsored $100 gift card to a local restaurant. So if any of our board members can't win, unfortunately, but you can still have your trash inspected. So if you'd like to apply, you can. And then the News Plus will be holding a candidate forum and kind of meet and greet right here on October 10th. So, and that's all I have.
All right. With that, we'll move on to item 11, review action items. Were there any prior meeting action items?
Yes, so engineering staff is working on developing our own version of C-Click Fix.
Nice.
That's expected to be done by the end of this calendar year. They're going through some debugging right now, and we'll have to do some testing.
Great, thank
And
you.
then I don't have an update on the other items,
And then current meeting action items?
other than it looks like we're rescheduling an engineering committee meeting.
And then set agenda for the next meeting. Do any members of the board have any items you'd like to add to the agenda for the next meeting? Nope. With that, we will adjourn at 5:59.